Long March 5B is uncontrollably heading towards Earth. A presentation by Avery Epperson. Let's talk about what's happening. On Wednesday night, April 28th, China launched its very first space station module into orbit. After the Long March 5B launched the module separated from the launcher's core stage and entered its planned orbit. But unfortunately, the core stage entered orbit along with the module. Quickly, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the Long March 5B. The Long March 5B is a rocket that has been designed specifically to launch space station modules into low Earth orbit. It uses a core stage and 4 side boosters to place its payload directly into orbit. Here I have a picture of the Long March 5B. This is the payload capacity, also known as the module. This is what we'd like to enter low Earth orbit, and this is what successfully entered low Earth orbit. Here we have the core stage and 3 of the 4 side boosters. This is what helps the payload capacity enter orbit. Here are a few more pictures of Long March 5B's design. I actually find these really cool and interesting, and I think they help me understand the situation a little bit better. Again, payload capacity, 2 of the 4 side boosters, and the core stage. And here's the 2 of the 4 side boosters, core stage, and payload capacity. And this is the core stage. The red part here, as you see, is what's currently in our orbit and falling uncontrollably. And the 4 side boosters actually fell off. Here it says detached after liftoff. So these aren't falling with the core stage, which I think is actually pretty cool. So what's the problem? Since the core stage entered orbit along with the module, the atmosphere will start to drag the core stage back down to Earth. This causes an uncontrollable and unpredictable re-entry of the core stage. The chances of a 30-meter long and 5-meter wide rocket crashing into uninhabited areas are pretty slim, but we really never know. It isn't known where it will plummet, but it could easily be one's home. This is why a deorbiting maneuver should have been added to the Long March 5B during its improvement period. So, what's being done to provide a safer landing? Nothing. It's virtually impossible to control the already descending core stage, and additionally impossible to predict exactly where it'll crash due to its speed and other things influenced by solar activity, atmospheric variations, and fluctuations, along with other factors. Going off of the core stage orbital inclination, there is a possible re-entry point, a little farther north than New York, Madrid, and Beijing, and as far south as southern Chile, Wellington, and New Zealand. That's a pretty big spectrum, though. And here's a map of one of the many maps I found of the possible landing places of the core stage. This is just the one I saw the most, so I went ahead and went with this one. I think it's pretty cool. But it's basically just a hypothesis because you won't know because it's falling and at such high speeds it could really go anywhere. But so, more like a hypothesis. So, what we know exactly is the core stage of the Long March 5B is most definitely falling fast and uncontrolled. We know this because ground-based radars have been put out to track what is believed to be the Long March 5B's core stage. The radars observe the core stage regularly flash, suggesting it's tumbling out of control at more than 7 kilometers per second. That's about 4 miles per second. The big question is, where will it land? In the ocean or in inhabited areas? Around 80 to 60% of the rocket will burn up from the intense heat that comes with falling at high speeds, and the remaining 20 to 40% will crash into inhabited or uninhabited areas. With the Earth being made up of mostly water, it is likely it'll fall into the ocean, but there's always a chance uninhabited areas will be hit. I'd like to end my presentation off with a surprise. A surprise I'm sure most of you know, actually. The Long March 5B core stage has already crashed into Earth. While I was working on my presentation, I got the news that it had fallen into the Indian Ocean. On May 8th or 9th, I can't get a definite between the two, just a little west of the Maldives, the empty core stage landed. No one was harmed in the crash, so you can rest easy. Here we have a picture of the core stage falling. Not a very good picture, but I'm glad a picture was able to be taken. Thank you.